Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that could change your destiny. What are you doing while the world is sleeping? Because the truth is, successful people aren't just lucky, they're intentional. They don't wake up early because they have to. They wake up early because their purpose demands it. You see, there is a divine rhythm to success, and those who master their mornings master their lives. The early hours are where ideas are born, discipline is forged, and vision becomes reality. If you keep pressing snooze on your alarm, don't be surprised when you're pressing snooze on your life. You want to change your life. Start by mastering your mornings, because the moment the world is still, heaven is speaking. The early morning is not just about waking up before others. It's where your purpose meets your preparation, where your spirit aligns with your assignment. And here's the truth: God will never promote what you refuse to prepare for. That's why successful people don't rise early because they feel like it. They rise early because they understand that purpose doesn't function on feelings. It functions on faith and focus. Think about this. Every great structure you see, a business, a movement, a legacy, was first built in quiet places, in early hours in solitude. Because before success shows up in public, it must first be cultivated in private. The early hours give you a chance to hear yourself think before the world starts shouting. It's when you can listen to your God-given instincts without interruption, when you can plant seeds of intention in the soil of silence. What you do when nobody's watching is what determines what people will eventually applaud. You don't get standing ovations without private rehearsals. Waking up early is one of the greatest rehearsals of success. And here's the hook. You can't walk in purpose if you keep sleeping on preparation. The morning hours are not just a head start, they're a heart start. They let you reset your beliefs, restructure your thoughts, and recommit to your vision. The world will try to steal your attention the moment you wake up, but when you rise early, you gain the power to set the tone instead of reacting to everyone else's. You shift from being on defense to being on offense. You're not chasing the day starts chasing you. People say they're waiting on a breakthrough, but what if your breakthrough is already scheduled for 500 a.m.? You don't miss flights because you don't feel like waking up. Why? Because there's something valuable on the other side. Yet we treat purpose like it can wait. It can't. Every day you delay your discipline is a day you delay your destiny. Successful people understand that success is a system, and the system starts before the sun shows up. They know that preparation in the early hours is not a chore, it's a covenant with the future version of themselves. And let's get real. Waking up early isn't about being a morning person. It's about being a mission person. You don't have to like mornings to lead them. You have to lead yourself so strongly that even when your feelings say no, your future says get up. This is about learning to obey your vision, not your mood. It's about choosing growth over comfort, alignment over excuses. Your success will never outgrow your structure, and your structure starts when the world is still asleep. Let me say it like this. If you're too tired to get up for your dreams, don't blame the world for not taking you seriously. The question is not, can I do it? The real question is, am I willing to prepare for it when no one's clapping yet? Because the real applause is not in the sound of people. It's in the satisfaction of knowing you're living on purpose. And when your preparation meets your purpose, you walk with a confidence that doesn't need permission. While most people are negotiating with the snooze button, successful people are negotiating with their destiny. Champions don't wait for the day to tell them what to do. They command the day before the world even opens its eyes. And that's not a coincidence. That strategy, there's something deeply powerful about being awake when the world is quiet, when the phone's not buzzing, when the demands haven't yet started pulling at your attention. It's in that stillness that clarity is born, discipline is refined, and leadership is exercised. Successful people rise before the noise, not because they have less need for sleep, but because they have more hunger for significance. You want to operate on championship levels. Then you have to do what champions do, and that starts when most people are still dreaming about doing something great. The early morning hours are not empty, they're exclusive. They're the premium space where leaders think deeply, pray strategically, and plan boldly. The world hasn't started distracting you yet. That means you've got full ownership of your mind. And here's the hook. If you don't own your mornings, someone else will lease your mind for their mission. The marketplace is flooded with people who are just reacting to life. But those who rise early, those who prepare before others even begin, they're the ones writing the script. Everyone else is acting out. Success doesn't respond to good intentions, it responds to calculated action. And that action begins in the dark, because what you build before the spotlight determines how well you shine in it. There's a reason the great ones look so calm in chaos. It's because they've already conquered themselves in private. You don't earn poise in pressure, you earn it in preparation. And when does that happen? When the world sleeps and the real builders get to work. There's a sacred energy in the morning that can't be replicated once the world starts pulling you in every direction. You want peace of mind. Start owning your mornings. You want focus. Stop letting the world touch your soul before you do. People think success shows up at events, on stages, in results. But success shows up first when nobody is clapping, when no one sees what you're doing, when you're up at 5:00 a.m., grinding on your mission while others are still resting in their comfort. That's the real championship behavior. Champions don't need a crowd, they need clarity, and they get that clarity before sunrise. That's not a preference, that's a priority. Let me challenge your thinking for a moment. If you keep sleeping through the silence, how will you ever hear the sound of your next breakthrough? Every idea that has ever changed the world was conceived in moments of stillness, not noise. And the quiet of the early morning is not just an atmosphere, it's an advantage. It's when the distractions haven't yet diluted your direction. It's when your soul can breathe and your spirit can download fresh instructions. If you wait until the world is up and moving, you'll find yourself pulled into its current. But when you rise early, you set the direction and the current follows you. Champions don't rise with the sun because they love waking up. They rise because they know their mission won't wait. They know the competition is sleeping, and that gives them a head start, not just in time, but in clarity, in momentum, and in power. When the world starts racing, champions are already ahead. And the reason they stay ahead is because they keep showing up earlier than everyone else. Not once, not occasionally, but consistently, relentlessly, strategically. If you want to lead the world, you can't wake up with it. You have to beat it to the starting line. Because while others are waking up to react, you're waking up to create. And that's how champions move. They move before the world tells them to. They don't follow the rhythm of the average. They rise to the frequency of excellence. Your discipline is the gatekeeper of your destiny. It doesn't matter how talented you are, how many dreams you've written down, or how loud you say you want success. If you lack discipline, you're simply decorating the idea of greatness without ever building it. Discipline is the difference between people who say they want it and people who actually go out and get it. Waking up early is one of the purest, most powerful expressions of discipline because it goes directly against what's comfortable and convenient. And that's the hook. Comfort never creates champions. Discipline does. Every time you choose to rise early when your body wants sleep, you're telling your future, I'm serious about becoming who I was born to be. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards preparation and persistence. And discipline is what converts your potential into proof. You can't build a legacy on motivation alone. Motivation fades. Discipline sustains. Discipline is what makes you show up when nobody's clapping, when there's no applause, when there's no immediate result. It's what turns routines into rituals and effort into excellence. Successful people understand that destiny is not delivered overnight, it's developed daily. And every day starts with a decision. That decision begins the moment your alarm goes off. Will you rise and reign, or will you roll over and retreat? Your entire life is being shaped by that one simple choice, repeated over and over again. Champions are not made in arenas. They're made in those quiet, early hours where no one's watching and nothing is guaranteed. They understand that the morning is not just a time. It's a training ground for the mind, the heart, and the spirit. You want to become someone the world can't ignore. Then you have to become someone your excuses can't negotiate with. Discipline breaks that cycle of maybe later and replaces it with right now. And waking up early is the most honest form of accountability because it's just you, your will, and your purpose. No one is forcing you. No one is grading you. That's why it matters so much. Because anything you can do without being pushed is a reflection of who you really are. Let me make it plain. If you don't command the beginning of your day, don't be surprised when your day commands you. Discipline doesn't wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. The more you delay, the more you drift. And drifting doesn't take you to destiny. It takes you to regret. You can either train your body to obey your calling, or you can let your feelings rob you of your future. That's why successful people train themselves to rise early, not just as a habit, but as a statement, a declaration that says, I refuse to let comfort cost me my calling. And here's another hook you need to remember. The pillow is the enemy of purpose if you haven't mastered discipline. Every time you choose to sleep through your commitment, you're telling your dream that it can wait. But dreams don't wait. They decay. And discipline is the only thing that keeps them alive long enough to manifest. Discipline is what gets you up to pray when your body wants to rest. It gets you into study when your mind wants to scroll. It puts you on your feet when everything in you says lie down. Discipline is your secret weapon. It's what separates leaders from followers, builders from watchers, and finishers from starters. And it starts the moment you decide to rise when it's uncomfortable, push when it's inconvenient, and stay the course when no one sees the work you're doing. The world will always offer distractions, but discipline keeps you focused. People will offer you shortcuts, but discipline keeps you rooted in principle. And life will offer you excuses, but discipline looks them in the face and says, I didn't come this far to be average. Success is not just built in your schedule, it's built in your state of mind. And the early morning hours are not just about time, they're about training. That's where winners train their thoughts before the world starts training their fears. The early morning is the mental gym of high achievers, where the strongest minds are sculpted, where clarity is carved out, and where the habits of wealth are rehearsed before the rest of the world even stirs. Before emails start coming in, before texts start pinging, before social media tries to hijack your peace, the early risers are already setting the tone, not just for the day, but for their destiny. Here's the hook. If you don't train your mind early, Your mind will be trained by the world later. And the world is not in the business of building confidence, clarity, or conviction. It's in the business of distraction, doubt, and delay. That's why successful people don't leave their mindset up to chance. They design it daily. And that design starts in the morning when the mind is at its sharpest, when your spirit is most receptive, and your emotions haven't yet been polluted by outside influence. You want to protect your peace. Then you have to practice it early. The first thoughts you allow in your mind will either empower you or paralyze you. That's why successful people don't check their phones when they wake up. They check their faith, their focus, their foundation. They read, they pray, they meditate, they reflect, because they understand that wealth is not just external, it's internal. It begins in how you think. And how you think in the early morning sets the direction of your decisions for the rest of the day. If your morning mind is undisciplined, your afternoon results will be unpredictable. Every business, every breakthrough, every bold move starts first as a thought. And if you don't give your mind space to breathe, process, and sharpen early, you'll be operating from a reactionary mindset all day long. You'll be managing stress instead of manifesting strategy. But early risers, they get ahead of the stress. They're not scrambling to catch up with the day. They're out in front, already directing it. Because their minds are armed with perspective. Their emotions are grounded, and their vision is locked in before the sun rises. You've got to understand that your mind is a battlefield, and the first hour of your day is when the war is won or lost. Most people allow the world to set their agenda, hijack their mood, and shape their standards. But successful people take control early. They step into the day mentally armored. They don't just prepare for tasks, they prepare for temptations. They don't just prepare to produce, they prepare to persevere. And that preparation happens in silence, in solitude, in the sacred space where the Spirit speaks louder than the noise of the world. There's a reason why the greats, CEOs, athletes, generals, spiritual leaders, all begin their days in intentional stillness. Not because they have more time, but because they value their thinking time. They know that what they put into their minds before the sun comes up determines how they respond when pressure hits later. When you've trained your thoughts to respond with faith, strategy, and calm in the morning, then obstacles later don't rattle you, they reveal you. They reveal the discipline, the mindset, and the leadership you've built before the world even saw you. Let me give you one final hook to lock this in. Your results will always rise or fall to the level of your thinking. And your thinking is strongest when it's trained early. You can't afford to start your day on autopilot, reacting to the chaos others throw at you. You've been given a purpose too valuable, a calling too important, and a mind too powerful to waste it on passive mornings. The morning isn't just about getting ahead of the competition. It's about getting ahead of the confusion. It's about owning your mind before it owns you. And every day you commit to this early training ground, you're not just building mental strength. You're building a life that commands results, influences others, and glorifies the purpose you were born to fulfill. Time is not just a resource, it's your most valuable currency. You can recover money, rebuild relationships, and restart a project, but once time is gone, it's gone forever. And the people who wake up early understand something most of the world forgets. The wealthy don't trade time for money. They multiply time for mastery. That's why waking up early isn't just a habit. It's a financial strategy. It's a decision to own your minutes before someone else spends them for you. The early morning is where the invisible investments are made. Investments in mindset, skill, clarity, and leadership, and those investments compound over time into tangible results. Here's the hook. You cannot afford to sleep through the season you were born to grow in. Every minute you spend sleeping past your purpose is a minute you're donating to someone else's agenda. If you're not intentional with your time, someone less qualified but more disciplined will take the opportunity that should have been yours. Time doesn't feel urgent until it's running out. And those who succeed in life treat time like gold, even when others treat it like grass. That's why early risers win. They don't wait to feel pressure. They operate with urgency even when no one is watching. The wealthy treat the early hours like sacred ground. Before the meetings, before the noise, before the demand, they're building their strategy. They're reading, writing, praying, planning. They're investing in their mind before the market even opens. Because they understand money moves in patterns, but it's the mind that moves money. So the sharper your mind, the stronger your moves. That kind of mental agility is built in silence, in solitude, in the early morning grind when no one's clapping yet. Every hour you wake up early and invest it into growth, you're buying back your future at a discount no one else is even looking for. People often ask, how do I make more money? But a better question is, how do I better use my time? Because the wrong use of time will cost you more than money ever could. The poor trade time for entertainment, the average trade time for survival, but the wealthy trade time for alignment, vision, and impact. They understand that when you waste the first few hours of the day, you set a rhythm of reaction instead of creation. You start behind, and everything else becomes an attempt to catch up. But when you begin your day early, you lead it. You're not reacting to life, you're designing it. Let me drop another hook on you. The earlier you rise, the more room you give God to move. When you sleep through the morning, you sleep through revelation. You miss the downloads. You delay the direction. Time is not just ticking, it's talking. And when you rise early, you position yourself to listen. That's when clarity comes. That's when conviction grows. That's when you make the decisions that others can't even think about yet because their minds are still fogged by distraction. And decisions made in clarity create momentum that money can't buy. Waking up early is not just about the clock. It's about taking ownership. If you don't run your hours will run you. And once you lose them, they're never coming back. The cost of sleeping late isn't just lost time. It's lost territory. The world is moving while you're still resting. And the tragedy isn't that people don't want success. The tragedy is they're trading it for 10 extra minutes in bed. Those 10 minutes become 10 missed opportunities, 10 delayed connections, 10 forgotten goals. Time is a divine gift. Every morning is a second chance disguised as a sunrise. The question is, are you going to open it or sleep through it? Because success doesn't reward intention. It rewards implementation. If you're serious about shifting your life, you need to shift your relationship with time. And that shift starts with rising early, taking authority over your day, and treating every minute like a seed you're planting into a future you refuse to compromise. That's how wealthy people move. That's how legacy is built. Waking up early is not always comfortable, but success was never designed to be comfortable. It was designed to be conquered by those who are committed. And that's the dividing line between those who merely wish for greatness and those who live it. Commitment is the fuel. Commitment is the edge. While most people are chasing ease, successful people are chasing excellence. They understand a core truth. Greatness doesn't show up in moments of ease. It's revealed in the trenches of daily discipline. And here's the hook. Comfort is the counterfeit of progress. It feels good now, but costs you everything later. The people who rise early are not chasing what feels good. They're chasing what builds strength. It's easy to get up when life is exciting, when you feel motivated, when things are going your way. But what separates the elite from the average is their ability to stay committed when everything in them says sleep, quit, or delay. Commitment is not measured by what you do once. It's measured by what you do consistently, especially when the applause stops and the emotions fade. Early mornings are proof of that kind of commitment. No one sees it. No one celebrates it. But that's the point. Waking up early is an act of private excellence. It's doing the right thing when nobody's watching, because you know that sooner or later the world will watch, and when it does, you'll be ready. The early risers are not driven by feelings. They're driven by mission. They get up not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Because the life they're building demands it. Because the version of themselves they're becoming doesn't have time to sleep in mediocrity. Every time you choose commitment over comfort, you're casting a vote for the person you are destined to become. And let me be clear, destiny doesn't wait for you to feel like it. Destiny responds to those who show up consistently and declare through action, I will not be denied. You've got to stop waiting for perfect conditions. The person who keeps saying, I'll start tomorrow, is the same person who wakes up in 5 years full of regret. But the person who starts now, who gets up early when it's hard, who pushes forward when it's cold, who shows up when it's silent, is the person who wins not just in results, but in identity. Because success isn't about what you have, it's about who you become in the process. And the process starts when your alarm goes off and you choose to rise when others roll over. Let me hit you with another hook. Your dream is allergic to your comfort zone. Every goal you've set, every future you've imagined, every legacy you want to build, none of it lives in the land of comfort. It lives in the space where commitment becomes your compass. When you get up early, you're not just starting your day. You're activating your standard. You're declaring to the world and to yourself that you are someone who follows through, someone who does hard things, someone who doesn't need conditions to be right in order to be excellent. There's a psychological shift that happens when you consistently keep promises to yourself. You begin to trust your own voice. You begin to move with confidence. You stop second guessing because you've trained yourself to take action before excuses even show up. That's what commitment creates: internal certainty. And that certainty becomes unstoppable momentum. It's not magic. It's not luck. It's daily decisions compounded over time. And here's the part most people miss. Your breakthrough is on the other side of boring. It's on the other side of repetition, of doing the small, unglamorous things over and over again. Waking up early might feel small today, but small acts of consistency beat big moments of intensity every time. Comfort is temporary, but commitment builds the foundation for permanent transformation. And if you want a life most people will never experience, you have to do what most people will never commit to. That's why successful people wake up early. Not because it's easy, because it's worth it every single time.